person. This is my channel, Barnon 11970. Thank you once again for listening to what I have to say. And I wanted to do a response video to a very good question that I think that we should all be taking very seriously if we really want to start making change. Now, this person, their YouTube name is TOTM Greenish, so shout out to you. Thank you for this question. Basically writes, the consent part. Is there any legal way to withdraw that consent? Peaceful revolution only to fix the politic problem. Now, it's a little difficult when it comes to courts because we know the courts are run by the government and the people that are causing the problems. So I'm not sure if appearing in court, unless you have millions of Americans and U.S. quote-unquote citizens filing all at the same time to the point where it gains national attention to where they can't hide it. But if we think on their playing field, it's all about consent. Now, if you've watched other of my videos, you will know about what consent can mean. But I'm going to explain it here again just in case, because I see I get a lot of new people. And this video is based on the Truth of the United States Law and You, which was a video I made over a year ago. So there's going to be at least 10,000 new people since that video was made. Welcome, by the way. When you have to deal with legal definitions when it comes to their scam of a law, there are ways around it if you know the system. Now, if you know anything about consent, like you see in the U.S. Constitution, well, it's in effect because of the consent of the governed. Now, what does that mean, consent? Now, keep in mind, I am not a lawyer, so I may not get every exact definition 100% correct. So forgive me if I don't go to law school and be a part of their system for 8 to 10 years and be in debt for hundreds of thousands of dollars to make sure that what I say is exactly 100% accurate. Keep that in mind. But when you are consenting, there are several ways you can consent. When a contract is being made, whether verbally or written or electronic these days, you can agree, which is giving your consent, or you cannot argue the claim. That's the same as saying yes. For example, and I've used this before, let's say you and your friend and a bunch of other people are going to get dinner together, and you're all going to split the bill evenly. Dessert comes, let's say there's 10 of you, and you order a cake. There are 10 of you, and there are 11 slices of cake for some reason. Everybody gets their slice, and there's one left over. And you say out loud to everyone at the table so they can hear it, I am going to take that last piece of cake. So according to law, you've made a claim for that piece of cake. So you're creating a contract. Now, the other people, or one person, or several of the people, they can say, sure, go ahead, you can have it. They could say, no, let's discuss this. You can't just take that piece because there's 10 other people, or 9 other people. Or they could say compromise, like let's split it. Or they could say nothing at all. So if you make a legal claim for that piece of cake, I mean, it may sound silly, but it is a contract. It's a verbal contract that you are establishing, and you are setting up a trust. Because everything that you do that interacts with people creates a trust, whether you understand that or not, or comprehend it or not. So if you say out loud, I'm going to take that last piece of cake, and everybody heard you, and they say nothing, well, they're not arguing it. So in law, you would have the legal right to claim that piece of cake because no one contested it. So when it comes to the government and the Constitution that they have written, the reason they get away with everything is, number one, they hide the definitions. Most people just see the words and assume they think they know what they mean because you go to public school, at least most people do, and that's owned and run by the government, and they feed you their propaganda. Like, for example, how many people, when they want to chant about where the country they live in, when they have some kind of rally cry, they scream out USA, USA. Well, that gets you to be conditioned that USA is all one word. The correct way would actually be US of A. because the word of is actually a separation, because we live on the continent of America. That's why there's a North America and a South America. The of is a separation, so it's the United States of America, which is the continent. But if they get you to chant USA, 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 you start to be conditioned to believe that it's all one word and the of doesn't matter. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. So, the reason that people still have this Constitution, as you could see, treats the wealthy incredibly well, but that's about the 1%. And the 99% are left to work for little bits of tokens that our government borrows from a federal bank instead of making it themselves, which would save us billions of dollars in debt, called taxes, that we pay for. But we don't argue it. We may protest every now and then, we may picket, we may complain about it, but the people don't say, I contest it. Now, there's another way around it. Now, if you watch that video, Truth of the United States Law and You, and if you haven't, I highly recommend it. There's that one, and there's the extended version. You will learn that when you are born, and I'm going to give a brief synopsis about this. I'm not going to go into the full details. You can watch the videos to see that. But in a nutshell, when you are born, they extract blood from the bottom of your foot, aka the sole of your foot. Now, your DNA is in your blood. DNA is what proves who you are. You could write whatever name, you could show whatever ID you want, they can all be forged. You can't prove who you are by just saying, oh, look, I have some identification. Your DNA is original only to you in the entire known universe. They take legal claim of it. Now, if you know anything about abandoned property, in law, after a certain amount of time, if you don't claim something or anything, it is no longer yours because it's considered abandoned. So even, like I've said in other videos, if you go and get your hair cut, well, all that hair that falls down onto the floor was once part of you. But once you walk out of that store and you don't come back and say, I would like to take that hair because it's part of me, well, anybody can scoop it up and turn around and sell it if they wanted to, or make fur animals or do whatever they want with it because you've abandoned it. So the way they scam you is when you are born, they take the blood out of the sole of your foot, which contains your DNA, proof of who you are. They give a certain time for you to come and claim it, which you never do. Your parents never do. It's abandoned property. So they make a fictional corporation under your name because it's hard to tell the difference, because when you look at your driver's license or any government ID, you think the name on that piece of paper is you. No, that's a corporate fictional name that's registered. That's what a corporation is. A corporation is nothing more than a registered trademarked name. Now, there's a thing called full disclosure, which means when you sign a contract, they can't just hide certain things without it being contestable. Now, the way they can get away with it is if you don't argue it, you don't contest it, they get away with it. Like, for example, if you looked outside your window, and hopefully this hasn't happened or won't happen, and your car is no longer there, in other words, somebody stole it, well, contesting it means you're going to go try and find it, or you're going to call the cops, you're going to do something about it. But if you look out the window and you see your car's not there and say, I guess it's gone, well, if you don't do anything, well, guess what? You're never going to get your car back unless you have a very honest thief. So there's a thing called contesting. Now, there's also, like I said, full disclosure. For example, if you were going to go to a real estate to buy a house, the house is $200,000. They tell you, you say, I love this house, I'm going to buy it. You give them whatever mortgage, because the majority of people that live in this country, or probably around the world, don't have enough of their currency to buy a house cash. If you can, congratulations. But most people get a mortgage, in other words, a death pledge. Look that up. Now, let's say after you signed the contract, they knew that the house was full of termites and they didn't do an inspection. They knew that the oil burner, which is buried in the backyard, is leaking oil, which they didn't tell you. They knew that the foundation in the basement is cracked and the house is going to crumble, and they didn't tell you. Well, even though you signed that document, they did not give you full disclosure. Now, of course, if you don't say anything or challenge them or take them to court, they get away with it. Just like if you don't call the cops if somebody steals your car and you just say, it's going whatever. But if you were to take them to court and they find they did not disclose that information, the contract becomes invalid. So think about that when it comes to what's happening in this government and probably most, if not all, of the governments throughout the world. The reason they get away with it is they've, in essence, stolen your car, and you basically said, it's gone. I'm mad. That really sucks. But you don't try and get it back. You don't contest it. So again, I can't talk about other countries because I don't live anywhere else. I live on North America. You can't say you live in North America because, again, legal definitions, if you say you live in something, like if you live in Texas or you live in Canada or you live in Australia or you live in the suburb of Fancy Street, you're admitting that you are a fictional corpse, a dead character, which proves when they took your DNA, you must be dead because you never came and claimed what was yours. Now here's where the disclosure part would come in handy. Just imagine you're a parent. You and your wife or you and your husband just had a baby, just fresh from the hospital, just literally had the baby. You haven't had the birth certificate yet. Now, what you're supposed to really have is a certificate of live birth. But the way they trick you is they give you a birth certificate, which is a different document, but you just assume that it's the same thing. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. So, just imagine if the doctor presented the initial papers that you have to sign, the certificate of live birth, and they say to you, okay, before you sign this document, I want to let you know that if you sign this document, what you're doing is signing away the legal rights to the ownership of your child's DNA, which proves who they are. We will take ownership of that and make a corporate account in your child's name that will put him in debt for the rest of his or her life. They will become legally dead under the law. We will make trust accounts where very wealthy people will make billions of dollars throughout the lifetime of your child being in debt, and you will be under our jurisdiction and part of a corporate account. You will be your son or daughter will be legally dead. Sign here. Now, unless you were on crack that day, or unless you have the IQ of a squirrel, I am safely assuming that most of you would say, I am not signing that. In other words, they gave you full disclosure. They told you beforehand what to expect. So if you signed it, well, if you knew all that stuff and said, oh, that sounds good, let me sign it, well, then you're either an idiot or you just don't care. But they told you the full disclosure of what you were signing. You were aware of it. No hospital does that. Have you ever heard any of that come out of a doctor's? Any parents out there ever be given that information right before they were about to sign that document? Or they just say, oh, here's the normal forms, everybody fills them out, just fill them out and send them in and we'll get you that birth certificate. So there is no full disclosure. If people actually went in droves and started talking about this on the politicians' Twitter accounts and Facebook accounts and other social medias, if people by the droves, and I'm talking about the droves, I'm talking about the thousands, left messages on the websites and social media networks of MSNBC, CBS, and all these other places and started flooding all of their pages with the information saying, why was I not given full disclosure that the situations that I mentioned in here apply? Now, people can say this is crazy. It doesn't matter if you think it's crazy. It's the truth. You have to look it up. Learn about corporations. Learn about legal definitions. There is a word called legalese. Any lawyers out there, if you're a lawyer and you're listening to this, please prove me wrong that there aren't legal definitions that are different in court as they would in normal English language. And I'm sure you've all heard the words that ignorance of the law is no excuse. In other words, if you go and shoot somebody in the head and the cops come and arrest you and you say, well, I didn't know I couldn't do that, do you think they're going to let you go? Probably not, because the law is the law. I am the law. So there is a way out, but people have to stand up. So somebody out there needs to, because I can't reach that many people. I have 20,000 subscribers, but yet my average views are about 500 views. So not even, God, like, you 20,000, you're not even 10% of my people watch, which is my own fault because I took about a year off because just the stress. But people need to send messages. They need to address this. They need to fix it. And one or two people can't do it. 1 or 200 people can't do it. We have to talk about a certain percentage of the government. I mean, people against the government. Because, like I said, this Constitution, the one that's set up on this fraud, is based on your consent. So you could picket all you want. You could protest all you want. But you're still paying your taxes, your debt to their borrowing of money, because it doesn't go to bridges and roads. And you've been lied to. But they get away with it because we don't do anything about it. We don't contest it. So just imagine, even in a corrupt court system, if there were, of the about 350 million people that live in this country, let's say 10% of the people all filed a lawsuit, even with a corrupt system, and made it public to the point where they couldn't hide it. And they contested that contract, saying, I was never given full disclosure. My parents were never given full disclosure. I wonder what would happen. Only one way to find out. Even if they turned you down, that would be one heck of a public thing, and it would create an outcry, and it would get the message out. But somebody's got to step up. I'm not the person that can do that. My skill is talking about this stuff. Somebody out there that's listening to this, who has the court ability, who has a better knowledge, who has the better communication, who may have lots more people than I have, to get that information out there and start studying it more. I'm giving the ground floor. I'm telling you the way out. I need your help. So somebody needs to come up with a proper comment that they could write in this comment section, a whole document that people can copy and paste, and you have to go to every politician's social media, every news media, and post this and challenge it and get their attention. Because if one or two people do it, you can easily delete it and ignore it. 200,000 or 300,000 people do it, that's going to gain attention. And like I've said before, and like they've been saying for a very long time, united we stand, divided we fall. So I'm giving the basics, and I hope you guys will do something about it. It's time. Because when you know the lie and you look the other way, like they say, evil thrives when good men do nothing. Let's stop doing nothing. So hopefully my information inspires somebody out there who can take this to the next level. If you write something that you think would hold up and people can copy and paste it, please post it here in the comment section. And if you do, let me know, and I will make another video pointing it out that it's there. And I want everybody to copy and paste it everywhere they can. Because if you think about it, if you can change the world potentially by doing nothing more than copy and pasting what somebody else took the time to write, and it gets the attention of the media when they have no choice, because you can only hide things for so long, even if you were in a corrupt part of the system. If enough people scream out, you can't hide it. So let's get this done. Start contesting, and maybe someday we have a chance to win. There are no guarantees, but you have a hell of a stronger guarantee and a hell of a stronger chance by actually doing something other than doing nothing. When you do nothing, you're guaranteed failure. Thanks for watching. Leave your comments, hit the thumbs up, share this video out there, and let's get it done.